it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 11 of my 2019 holiday card series. Today I'm going to be making a shaker tag using Ready Set Snow, Fairy Frosty Friends, and Critters in the Forest. So I'm actually going to start with my stamping today because I'm going to be doing some masking. And I'm starting with the large snow globe in Ready Set Snow. I'm stamping that out with some Memento Tuxedo Black ink on some Nina Solar White cardstock. And then I'm going to take the little fox and put her in the center of my snow globe. So I wanted her to be the first image that I'm adding because she's going to be the one that I need to mask off the most. So I did stamp an extra mask for her, and now I'm just going to quickly trim that out. I thought that I would leave that in the video so you guys can see how I fussy cut, because I don't do that a whole lot in my videos. To be honest, it's just not something that I enjoy, and both my mother and my grandmother have had carpal tunnel, and with all the coloring and writing that I do, if I can save my hands any work, I will, and so I very often will just use the matching dies 99% of the time. But today, I am going to do the masking. So my trick is just to keep those scissors pointed straight ahead and turn the paper, and that way you'll get a nice smooth cut. Now around the feet I don't have to be so particular because that part doesn't really need to be masked in the final card. So I just left those kind of together at the bottom, and now I'm going to peel that mask off the backer sheet and place that over the fox image. So I'm just going to carefully line that up and make sure that it's nice and straight on there so that she's completely covered and I won't get any lines where I don't want them on her. Then I'm going to take this Snowdrift stamp and I'm going to stamp that down again in the Memento Tuxedo Black. All of it is with that ink. That's usually my go-to ink for stamping. So now I have that mask on there, but I'm going to leave that on. I've also created another mask for the Snowdrift. Now I have to admit, I don't use masks that often, and I must have accidentally stamped on the wrong side of the paper, so it was not a perfect fit, but it didn't matter because it covered where I needed it to. So I did try to adjust that and just see if I could fix it, but I was definitely stamped in the wrong direction. But it lined up where I needed it to, and so now I'm going to stamp out my little gift, and that is going to be kind of like half buried in the snow then in the final card. Now I've got this little berry branch from Fairy Frosty Friends, so I'm going to stamp that once on the left side, and then I'll stamp that again on the right, just to kind of create some little brush and some different woodsy elements, so it looks like the fox is in her little burrow. And this whole design was actually inspired by a painting that I had done with my friend Heather Cash a few years ago. She is an amazing artist. She works with acrylic paint mostly, but she does a lot of like local murals. She's done a mural at the zoo and at our children's museum and schools. She did a recycling campaign. She's just incredible. And she taught this class that had a winter fox surrounded by some brush with some berries on it, and that totally inspired my card for today. It's not an exact match to hers, but kind of just a nod to her. So I will have all of her information down below. She also does have a YouTube channel, so feel free to check her out. It's heathercash.com, and then her YouTube channel, I believe, is just Heather Cash or Heather Cash Art, but I'll have those links down below. So now I'm going to begin to color. I've taken off all my masks so you can see how the scene is looking. And I'm going to use B00, B00, B02, and B04. So I wanted the outside edge to be the darkest and then to get lighter as it comes to the center. That's the way the painting was when I did it all those years ago. So I'm using that B04 on the outside edge, and then I'm going to pull that in a little bit more with the B02. I'm just carefully coloring around those berries, but I'm just using kind of a circular motion to go quickly and kind of just make sure that edge is really blended and there aren't any harsh lines. Next, I'll grab the B00 and bring that in even closer to the little fox. And then finally, I'm going to take that B00. Now, I decided that this wasn't quite enough contrast for me. You guys know me and how much I love my contrast. So I am actually going to bring in the B06 to darken up that outside edge. And then I'm going to do a double layer of all of the colors. So I was actually talking to Heather the other day. She popped into the pottery studio where I work and where she teaches canvas classes. And we were talking about some of her older paintings that she had taught. And I was so surprised to learn that she said that this Winter Fox painting that I am kind of honoring today is one of her least favorite, that she just can't stand looking at it. And I was like so surprised because I took several of her classes, but this one was probably my most favorite by far and definitely the most memorable. I just loved it. And I just thought that was so interesting because I also don't like to look back at my older videos. I think sometimes we as artists, we know that we've come so far, and so we don't really like to look back at our older work. But lately there's been a lot of you kind of revisiting some of my older videos, especially the holiday card series, and leaving me the nicest comments. And, you know, you just never know who your art is going to touch, even your older stuff, you know, that you maybe feel like isn't a correct representation of you anymore or whatever. You know, it still is out there touching people. And I think that's so awesome about art. You know, it's just one of the things that I love so much about crafters and artists and all of that stuff. We're just, you know, out there trying to lift people's spirits and help them, you know, get through life in a easier and more fulfilling way. So anyway, back to the coloring. I'm using BV00 and BV01 to add a little shading to the snow. I thought that would be just a different combination than what I typically use, and I thought it looked more like maybe an evening sky with that, you know, color reflecting on the snow there. And then I did soften up the edges of that with the colorless blender. The fox in the painting was a gray fox, so I thought I would stick with that, and I'm using C0, C1, C3, and C5. So I'm going to lay in my shadows with that C5, mostly along her back and the back side of her legs, a little bit where her tail is overlapping her body and casting a shadow, along the back side of her tail and where the gray part is going to meet the white, and then also along the side of her face and her ears. Then I'm going to grab the C3 and begin to blend that out. Just really scrubbing over the edge of that C5 and being careful to remove any harsh lines so I have a nice smooth blend. So I'm just going to do all of that, and then I'm actually going to fill in the rest of her with the C1, and I'm going to save that C0 for the white part of her tail. So that will be the only place that I'm using that one. And now that I'm thinking about it, I definitely should have a photo of that painting somewhere. So if I can find that, I will insert it at the end of the video. So do stay tuned and check that out. That way you can see where I drew my inspiration. I definitely did my own thing and gave it a little twist. But yeah, it's definitely super adorable and definitely worth seeing. So just stay tuned to the end for that. I'm adding a little bit of C0 at the bottom of the tail, just flicking that in. And then I'm going to grab C7 to color in the fox's nose. I'll use E47 to do all of the branches, and I'm only going so far as the edge of the snow globe. The rest of those branches are just going to be cut out when I trim this down with the matching die. I wanted the berries to be more of a burgundy shade or a wine red, so I'm using R46, R56, and R59. Just adding a little bit of that R59, kind of a backward C shape on the right hand side of each of the berries. And then I'm going to go over that and pull that a little bit more out with the R56. And then I'll fill in the rest of the berries with the R46. And that just adds like a nice pinky red tone to it. Just really brings them to life and gives them kind of a little bit of a glow, which will match that glow in the center of the scene. So hopefully that will look like moonlight, because I'm imagining this is a nighttime scene. And then for the ribbon on the gift, I wanted that to be a brighter red, so I kept the R59 as my darkest, but then I switched to R29 and R39 for my highlight and my midtone. This is my go-to red combo for most things. I just really love how bright and Christmassy it is. And then for the rest of the gift, I'm going to use YG61, YG63, and YG67. So we just have that classic Christmas combination with the green and red highlighted in that one little area of the gift. To finish up this part of the snow globe, I'm going to take a white gel pen. This is a Sakura Jelly Roll pen, and I'm going to add some snow to the background, and I'm even going to add it over top of the images because, you know, the snow is falling. It would be falling on everything. It wouldn't just be falling behind the critters. If you only put it behind, it's going to look more like stars. So keep that in mind. If you want it to look snowy, you need to have the snow coming in front of all of the images. So I'm just going to dot that all over, and then I'm going to move on to the outer part of my snow globe. So I did stamp that down twice, and then I added the sentiment to the bottom of this one, and I'm coloring that in with Y32 and Y36, so it hopefully looks like a gold plate there. Just adding a little bit more of the darker color on the outside edge, and then blending once again. And then for the rest of it down at the bottom, I'm using E44, E47, and E49. I'm going to bring in that E47 from both sides, so I have that nice darkness on the edges, which is going to make it look nice and round and lift it off the page. So I'll just bring that in, and then a little bit extra on the bottom lip there. And then I'll bring in the E47 and pull that out towards the center on both sides. So this will hopefully look like a really dark polished wood, something like mahogany or something like that. So I'm just going to continue blending and leave a little bit of space for that E44, so I have that highlight in the center. That's really going to help it have that round shape to it. And then I'm going to trim all of these out with the matching dies. I am making a shaker tag today, so I'm going to use both the regular die and the shaker add-on for the Ready Set Snow stamp sets. So I'm going to tape those into place with some post-it tape, and then I will run these through my die cutting machine. So on the one that is going to be the front panel, I'm going to add some 1/8 of an inch score tape all along the back side of that. And then I have die cut a piece of acetate to fit using the other die, the one that I used to die cut the background. So I'm going to just peel off the backer sheets from the score tape, and then I'll grab that acetate and line that up right over top, and then press that down into place, so that will create the shaker window. Then I'm going to flip that over and line the back once again with some foam tape this time. I'm just using one layer because the shaker material that I'm using is pretty flat. And I did peel off the backer sheet first because it does make it easier to manipulate and just get it to form that nice circular shape. So once I have that, I'm going to take my EK Success powder tool and just make sure that there's not too much static cling on the inside edge of all of that tape, and then I can fill it with my shaker material. I'm using some Lawn Fawn chunky glitter, so I'm just going to tap on the bottle to disperse that neatly inside in the center so it doesn't get stuck all over the tape. And then I'm also taking some tiny iridescent stars from Pretty Pink Posh, and I added those as well. And now I can peel off that final release paper from the foam tape and add my background right over top, just lining that up nice and careful. And there you can see my little shaker element put together. I did want to turn this tag into a little card, so I just die cut that with the regular die. I just put it above the edge of the folded card to create that nice fold in the center. And now I'm going to stamp on the inside with some lobster ink. I'm using a bunch of the snowflakes from the Ready Set Snow stamp set, and then the to and from the Tiny Tags sayings. So now I have lined the front of that little card with a bunch more score tape. I can peel off the release papers, and I'm going to take some lawn trimmings in the color peppermint, and I'm going to snip off a little bit of that and make a loop. So this could also be either hung on a Christmas tree or off of a gift. And so I'm going to adhere that with a strong piece of tape over top of it as well, just to make that kind of sandwiched into the glue. And then I can grab my little shaker tag element and add that right over top. And I tied a little bow separately. I'm going to adhere that down right at the top of the little tag. I'm using some Ranger Multimedia Matte, which is a really good, strong adhesive. So I'll just push that down into place, and that is going to complete my tag for today. I did want to mention that I created this for Tracy McNeely's 25 Days of Christmas Tags. Each day is represented by a different stamp company, so I made this for Lawn Fawn and Lawn Fanatics. So if you love Christmas tags, I encourage you to go over to her blog and check that out. There's so much amazing inspiration, and I will have that linked in the description bar below. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this Winter Fox tag. And here is that photo that I was mentioning. Please don't be too harsh. This was only my second painting ever, so it's definitely not expert level, but I just thought it was too cute not to share. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Here is day 11 of the previous 2 years of holiday card series. So you can check out either one of those. And I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Bye-bye.